Namaskar. Good evening to all. A very warm welcome to all our viewers. Welcome to our 67th session of the Virasat Talk program being organized by the Archaeological Exploration and Excavation Department of Heritage Society, Patna. I request all our viewers to join this session as soon as possible and share the live link of this session to your friends and colleagues so that we may reach out to more people in our effort to promote the rich cultural heritage of our country. It is my great privilege and honor to welcome today Dr. Sanjay Garg, who is joining us directly from Kazakhstan. Dr. Garg is currently serving as the director of Swami Vivekananda Cultural Center in the Embassy of India in Kazakhstan. I learned just now that Kazakhstan is in fact a very cold, one of the coldest place, the second coldest place in the world, and it has temperature almost going minus 40 degrees Celsius sometime. So welcome you, sir, from the great place of Kazakhstan. And sir will be speaking today on the topic, the beginning of Royal Portraiture on coins of ancient India, the Indo-Greeks, very important aspect that many a times are missed out. I will not take much time, and I request Dr. Garg to begin the session. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Azad. And at the outset, I would like to thank the Heritage Society, in particular Dr. Anantatosh Dwivedi, for inviting me to come and share some of my studies on the topic. So thank you very much. And the Heritage Society is doing a great work, and this is the 67th talk session. So I wish them all the best. Coming to the topic of today's lecture, it is, we all know that, we have seen ancient coins in one form or the other, but have you ever thought that how the portraiture, which is so commonly found on the coins of modern era, had its beginning? And that's what I am going to talk about in this session. So let me, without much ado, let me give you an outline of today's presentation. I'll be talking about the Indian coinage tradition, that, from where what the coins were issued in the beginning of the 6th century, and then what are the pictorial elements on these coins. Also, the depiction of royalty and divinity, like in Hellenistic culture, and also how they were reflected or copied when the rulers came to rule, the Greek rulers came to rule this part of the world. And more, very importantly, that what are the extra monetary use of the coins. And here I would like to say that, the coins were the earliest mass media known to the humankind. And they were used for various propaganda purposes, which we'll see during this talk. And finally, I would end with a plea, especially to the art historians, that they should also take into consideration these little metallic pieces, the coins, when they study art history, because so far we have seen that their studies has always concentrated either on the sculptures or paintings or even architectural design features. So coins are also an important source of art history. That is the takeaway from this session. So let us begin. And what I would request Mr. Azad is to make it full screen so that the coins are visible, and I'll go offline, and I'll come back again on camera during the Q&A session. So these are the earliest coins known to in this part of the world in Indian context. And as we know that, these Panchmark coins were issued earlier by the 16 Mahajanapadas, which were contemporary during Lord Buddha's time, and later on by the Magadhan Empire. And here what you see are a series of symbols. So here you see a sun symbol, a Shada Chakra, 6-armed circle, and then this is a here on a hilltop, a bull here with a horn. So various type of symbols were used on these coins, which range from animals, reptiles, birds, flora and fauna, and various other symbols. We really do not know what these symbols actually meant or signified, and different scholars have interpreted them as Buddhist symbols or Zoroastrian symbol or Tantric symbol. So I'm not going to go into detail of that. But the point that I'm making here is that the earliest coins of India, uh, they did not have any human element except in a very few cases like this one. And here you can see this is also a Panchmark coin, the Karshapana series of Magadhan Empire. And here you can see a standing human figure holding a shaft. Again, it's a matter of interpretation. People have identified this human figure as Lord Shiva holding a trishul, but you can have your own interpretation because the coin just shows what it does and not beyond that. A very important chronological marker in India, the history of this subcontinent, was Alexander's invasion of India in 326 BCE. So Alexander, as we know, that after crossing the river Indus, he advanced toward Takshila, and then he was challenged by the ruling king Porus or Pururava. Various accounts of this famous battle, which was fought between King Porus and Alexander, are known to us. And as we know, King Porus was defeated, and Alexander was victorious in this in this battle. And we have got a numismatic evidence of this event. Here you see on the overs here, Alexander, he is standing in full military attire, holding a spear in his hand and a thunderbolt in his other hand. And on the corner, if you can see closely, there's a wreath you can see, which is being held by goddess Nike, Greek goddess of victory, and who is sort of garlanding the victorious Alexander. More importantly, on the other side, you see an elephant which is, in a sense, running away from the field. There are two riders on the top of the elephant, and the elephant is being followed by a galloping horse, which is depicting Alexander. And Alexander has, in fact, pierced his spear on the pillion rider, and who is sort of holding it back with his hand. And the mahout, or the driver of the elephant, is trying to ward off the charging horseman Alexander. So it doesn't have any legend or any inscription, but this pictorial element is a proof enough to vouch for the very important historical marker of this subcontinent. There's another important coin, or people call it medallion or a commemorative coin, which is definitely very Indian in its context. And first of all, you see an archer who is wearing a dhoti, and very like a Indian archer. And the monogram on the field is A and B, a ligature of A and B, which is Alexander Basilios, or the King Alexander in Greek. And on the reverse, you see an elephant. Now, elephant, just remember it, you will find it very frequently in the coins of the Greco-Bactrian and also on the coins of the Indo-Greek, because they had never seen an elephant, such a big animal. And they were very fascinated by this creature. So on one side of the coin, you see an Indian archer, And on the other side, you see an elephant full in its full form. It's very rare coin. It's only a very few pieces are known, and possibly it was again issued to commemorate the victory of Alexander in the Battle of Hellespont. Now, Alexander died, as you know, at the age of 32, and without leaving any heir to his the huge empire that he had created. And after his death, his empire was divided amongst his commanders, or the satraps. And one such satrap was Seleucus Nicator. And it's said that in 293 BCE, Seleucus sent his son Antiochus to Bactria, which is identified with Balkh in modern day Afghanistan, to serve as a viceroy. And this particular coin has the name inscribed in Greek, both of Seleucus as well as his ambassador Antiochus. So on the obverse, you see the head of the Greek god Heracles, who is the god of strength, courage, and one of the sons of Zeus. And on the reverse, you see Zeus sitting on a throne and holding a scepter in his one hand, and on the other hand, he's holding an eagle. And the legend here, Basilios in the at the bottom, which is the king, and here the two names are there: Antiochus on the top and Seleucus below it. So this is again very important, evidence of how the portraiture culture was transformed from Macedonia, from Greek onto this part, and then how it traveled further across Hindu Kush. We'll see in a while. Now, just to understand what area we are talking about, so this is the Greco-Bactrian kingdom, and this is the range of Hindu Kush. Bactria is here, which is Balkh. This is another very important archaeological site called Ai-Khanum. And here, the extent of the Mauryan Empire was somewhere up till here. So this is the area that we are talking about when we are discussing about these coins. This is another important coin. The obverse is similar as we have seen before. The reverse is also similar, but the only difference is that here it bears the name of Alexander here in the Greek legend. And why it is associated with India is this elephant. The head of the elephant you can see here, which has been added to the whole depiction of Zeus, who is typically shown enthroned. Zeus is, as some of you might know, that in Greek mythology he is the father of gods. So here you can see the head of the elephant in 3/4 profile, and the name Alexandroi inscribed. So these coins were again the posthumous issues in the name of Alexander, and it shows the two divine pictures. One on the obverse it is Heracles, and on the reverse is Zeus. Now, when we talk about the concept of divinity, first let me talk about the concept of divinity in Indian traditions. In Rig Veda, for example, all the famous gods which have been mentioned therein, for example, Indra, Agni, Som, Yam, Varun, they are all addressed as king. Nrapa is the word which has been used. And when we come to the later texts of statecraft, for example, the famous one, the Manusmriti, it says that the king is said to have made of divine particles extracted from the god, including Yama, Indra, Varun, and Kuber. And it also says that even an infant king must be treated with respect because he, in reality, a god on earth. So we have this tradition of treating the ruler next to the god, if not God himself. And the same tradition is we find in the Hellenistic traditions also, where various heroes have been given the status of God. And this is one example. Heracles, or in Roman mythology, his counterpart is Hercules, so which is like a god of strength and power, and also sexual prowess and all, so on and so forth. And here he has been shown wearing a helmet which has been made of the lion scalp. So here you can see the open mouth of the lion here, and which he is wearing as a helmet. So far, the king is not depicted, but soon the kings they replace the depiction of the god to a very large extent. This is again a very interesting coin, a copper coin of Antiochus, who earlier was the governor, or a representative of Seleucus Nicator in Bactria, but later on he became king in his own right. So this this coin, which shows the diademed head of the king. Now, this diadem is a type of crown in the Greek traditions, which is some sort of a hairband. Sometimes it is decorative, sometimes it is just a plain a band, and which was used by the monarchs and others as a badge of royalty. So they did not have the tradition of wearing crowns or mukut in Indian tradition, but this diadem. So here Antiochus is shown wearing a diadem, and on the reverse is his name, and with a horse. And again, why this horse? Maybe it is a commemorative of the famous horse of Alexander Bucephalus, who led him to victory on the Indian territories. This is another coin of the same ruler, Antiochus. And if I can go back for a minute, you can see that how realistic is the depiction. Here you see a monarch who has advanced in his age, and you see the hefty figure face and the continents. On the reverse, you see the seated Apollo, and with the legion, Greek legion, which gives the names of the issuer. Diodotus was again a Greco-Bactrian king who ruled in this part of the subcontinent. And although this coin is nominally in the name of Seleucus, the name of Antiochus, Diodotus is not there. We can see his countenance. The depiction of the king Diodotus on the obverse, and on the reverse we see Zeus standing and hurling a thunderbolt. So the concept of royalty and divinity is very interestingly, fused in on two sides of the coin. So whether you see from the divinity point of view, so it has the depiction of the god of father of gods, and on the other side, his representative on earth, that is the ruler. I'll start with the reverse of this coin. The reverse is almost the same as this one. Zeus standing and hurling a thunderbolt. The legend is also same, Basilios Diodotus. But here, if we see the overs, he is definitely a different person, not the same person as this one. So the scholars attribute this coin to the Diodotus II, who might have succeeded his father. And numismatists have generally been unable to distinguish which coins are of which Diodotus, but on the basis of the young phase and elder phase, the distinction has been made. So sometimes even slight, change in the depiction can be of a great help in deciding on certain historical facts. Continuing with the Greco-Bactrian kings, here you see Euthydemus, and his rule is given here. And on the reverse, a nude Heracles is seated on a pile of rocks. And the Greek legend is here. And again, you see the king is shown with a diadem tied on his head. This is something interesting where you see the realistic portraiture of the ruler or the issuer of the coin on this set of coins. All of the same ruler, from the very young portrait to a portrait of an elderly person. And this is how we are able to, because there's no date on these coins. So, and very few coins are found in the, stratified layer in the excavations and all. And even if they are found, I mean, this is one of the complaints which the numismatists always have with the archaeologists, that there's no correct recording of the coins, even if they are found in the stratified layer. And for example, I mean, seldom the associated finds are recorded in the excavation reports and so on and so forth. But here, just on the basis of what the coins show, one is able to give them a sequence. One is able to give them a chronology, that which coin is the earlier coin and which coin is the middle coin and which coin is the later coin. So this is how the portraiture helps us in the absence of any other supporting evidence. This coin of Demetrius shows very interesting helmet, which is made of the head of the elephant. So a scalp of the elephant has been turned into a helmet, and here you see a craning trunk. The tusks you can see here. I mean, logically, one would laugh at it, that how a human head can support a scalp of an elephant. But this again was to show the might and prowess and the valor of the ruler. And since these coins were passed into the hands of the masses, this was, as I said in the beginning, that it also served as the propaganda pieces. This is a coin of Euthydemus II, and again, portrait of the king with the diadem, and the name, the king Basilios and Euthydemus. Now, something important about this is that we have got the coin with the same name earlier also, which is identified as Euthydemus I. But here, again, on the basis of the portrait, we are able to place it in a later. There are other evidences also which support this assumption. And one of them is the use of this tamga or the emblem, which differs from ruler to ruler. This is also of the same ruler. The legends are the same, but here you see a very ornate diadem, uh, unlike the previous one, which is simply a band of some sort of a band. Here you see a very ornate diadem, and with his curly hairs. And on the reverse, you see a tripod, uh, which is some sort of an altar, and the name of the king written on both sides of the altar. Uh, this portrait is sometimes also identified not with the ruler, but with the face of Apollo, who was like god of archer, Greek god of archery, music, dance, and also of the diseases. And this is the point which I made right in the beginning, that sometimes the distinction is so thin that it is very difficult to identify that which is the portrait of the ruler. And it was not without intention. I think it was deliberate, so that to show the status of the ruler as next to the divinity. This is again a very beautiful portrait. If you see the old sculptures, Greek sculptures, you will see the high chin bone and sharp nose and sharp chin here and cheekbone here, and so very realistic portraiture of the king Agathoclea on the obverse wearing a diadem, and on the reverse you see Zeus standing and holding a figure of a small deity which is identified by the Hecate, and Hecate is holding two torches or mashal in her hands, and this goddess is identified and associated with the crossroads and the entrance ways, and in a way leading the path. So this is very directly taken from the Greek mythology. And on the obverse you see the portrait of the king. Next one. Again, very interesting coin of the king Penteleon. So Penteleon is here shown again with the diadem, slightly bulky bust, and on the reverse you see Zeus enthroned and holding as before Hecate goddess in one of his outstretched hands. And the same Penteleon, from here we see that how the Indianization of the coins of the Greco-Bactrian rulers started. And here we see there are two coins. On one coin is a portrait of the ruler. On the other side is a moving panther with a Greek legend. On the second one, you see a female figure, a deity, which is identified with some Indian deity. We do not know for sure that which deity it is depicted. And it has, very interestingly, the Brahmi legend, which gives the name of the king as Rajane Patalevasa, which is the Indianization of the Greek name Penteleon. And on the reverse, you see the Greek legend repeated on the top and the bottom. Now, again, going to the first coin, as we have seen in one of the previous example, where the ruler is depicted in such a way that he is identified also with the god Apollo. in this particular coin, this laureate head, supposedly of the ruler, is also identified with the head of the Greek god Dionysus, who is the god of harvest, wine, fertility, and also theater and festivities. So this is, as I said a while ago, that a very thin line where some of the rulers took this recourse of blurring the dividing line between the royalty and the divinity. So here, before we move on, just to recap this, that we start getting Brahmi legend on the coins of the Greco-Bactrian. And this is another coin of Antimachus, wearing a very strange headgear. Instead of diadem, diadem is also visible here, you can see. But this hat is known as Kosia. And if you have seen the recent pictures of some of the Afghans, like Emasha Mashur, this headgear is still being used, and it is called pakod. So the suggestion is that this Kosia is a predecessor of pakol, which is still used by the habitants of that area in Afghanistan. Apollodotus, as we see that here we see the Greek legend, and here the Indianization was complete on the second coin, which is having the Greek legend on the overs with depiction of an elephant, an Indian elephant, if you please. And on the reverse, you see the same translation of the Greek legend in Kharoshthi script and depicting a bull. So here, the portrait of the king is not there, but by suggestion that these coins were meant for the Indian masses, the two very important symbols, the bull and the elephant, and the legend in the local language and script, has been depicted on these coins. So Antimachus II, from here we definitely say that the transition from the Greco-Bactrians to the Indo-Greek was complete, because he was the first ruler who ruled beyond the Hindu Kush ranges, and most of the coins, his coins, are found in this area. On the overs, you see a depiction of a winged Nike holding a wreath and a palm, and the legend is here, which reads Basilios Nikephoroi Antimachos. It starts from here at about 1 o'clock and goes round. And on the reverse, it's a horseman on a galloping horse. He could be the king himself wearing a helmet, or we do not know what this horseman depicts, but suggestion is that the king, instead of showing his bust and a close-up of his head, he chose to show himself in action with a Kharoshthi legend, which reads Maharajasa Jayadharasa Antimakasa. So Antimachus was the first Indo-Greek king on whose coins we find these Indian elements in its full glow. Menander, as we know, that he's well known in both Greek and Indian sources. In Indian sources, refer to him as Milind, and his head is shown on the overs of the coin, and his name is written here, Menandroi Basilios. And on the reverse, you see Athena. Athena, is a goddess of wisdom and warfare and handicrafts. And her Roman counterpart is goddess Minerva. So goddess Athena holding a shield in her hand, in her left hand, and in other hand holding a thunderbolt. Here we see Menander wearing a helmet. The reverse remains the same, depicting Athena. The arrangement of the legends remains the same. But here, instead of diadem, as in this particular coin, you see Menander wearing a helmet. And in various other forms, Menander, his coins are quite common. So these are what is called the spear thruster type of coin, where his profile is towards the other side, as against the usual facing right. So he's facing the other way, and here he is wearing a helmet, having a spear on his shoulder with a diadem, and the reverse is almost the same, goddess facing left side or the right side. We come to a very interesting coin here, which is probably the first coin known in this series, issued by a queen rather than by a king. And the name of this queen is Agathoclea. So here you can see very clearly a female figure without a diadem. And on the reverse, we find the crusty legion all around. And a male figure walking, outside the field, sort of say, is a male figure with all the arms, a sword. You can see a sword here, a spear here. So he's holding a bow and arrow and a spear and a sword. And there's a monogram here, somewhere here, yeah, and the Greek legend. If you see the legend, it gives the name of the queen. Agathoclea is written here. So who was this queen is known to us from another coin, which is this one, which shows the Jugate image of a lady and a young boy. So here we know from history that Agathoclea was a Indo-Greek queen who ruled in parts of northern India during the 2nd century BC as a regent to his son Strato. So Strato was probably a minor, and for this reason, his mother, Agathoclea, took the reins of the kingdom in her hand, and to show that she was the ruler, she issued coins both with her own profile and also with the profile of her son, Strato the first. So this is again a very important evidence of how coins help us in reconstructing history. This is the coin which you saw on the first slide. Very interesting and very well struck coin of the Indo-Greek ruler Lysias, whose name is written here at the bottom. And again, he is shown wearing a helmet made of elephant skull. Another coin of Lysias. Here he is shown in a spear thruster pose. Excuse me, pose, and on his shoulder he is wearing some sort of a like a covering, where you can see the head of the elephant thrusting outside. So it was a tradition to depict these coins, these rulers with wearing a loin skin or various other attires or in the military attire, but this is for the first time that we are seeing Lysias is wearing a elephant skin on his shoulders. The reverse shows Heracles, which is not very important. We have seen him before. Again, these are the coins which are the copper coins. Here you see the elephant with the Kharoshthi legion in a square and in the round form of the same king. Another king, Antiochus, as I said in the beginning, that the Greeks were fascinated and awestruck by the elephant. And here we have seen this pose before. But what is important and very interesting here is the Zeus, who is the father of the gods, is shown riding an elephant, which is unthinkable in the Greek tradition. And again, on another coin, Zeus is seated on a throne and feeding an elephant. And just compare the size of the figure of elephant and Zeus. So just to show that Zeus is really a god, and all other creatures are very punitive, very, very puny before him. Another king, Heliocles II, and here you see the reverse remains the same, showing the elephant walking on one side or the other with a Kharoshthi legion. And here there's a king with a beard. So this again shows that the profile or the portraiture of the ruler was very realistic on these coins. This is a coin of the Indo-Greek ruler Philionos, whose name is written at the bottom, and the usual depiction of king wearing a diadem. And on the reverse, there's a Kharoshthi legion with a tamga here and a horse rider in his military uniform, wearing a helmet. This is a close-up of the horse rider. You can see that, and what is from the art history point of view and from the point of view of the realistic depiction, you see the face of the horse is shown in his three-quarter profile. And, if you see closely, you can see him in action, like especially the flaring nostrils of the galloping horse. So on a very tiny piece of metal, to strike such realistic picture was a proof of great artmanship of the artist of the age. And I just wanted to show you one in a close-up, that how realistic. You can see the flowing cloth of the king is flowing hair of the horse, and his flaring nostrils. A coin of another Indo-Greek ruler, Amenthas, where this is a coin where you can see the portrait of the king, which is supposedly smiling. So he's, you can see that the portrait of the king has been shown that as if he is smiling. So it's another depiction. And Amenthas is also shown as a warrior, so in a helmeted spear thruster type and with a diademed spear thruster type. On the reverse, you see Zeus holding Athena in his hand this time, instead of the other goddess Hecate. And here you see the same king wearing a pakol or koshia, and Zeus holding Athena on the reverse. There's another coin with the joint portrait of two personality. In earlier case, we saw the mother and the son, Queen Agathoclea and Strato. And here we see a male and the female figure. So this is identified with the king and the queen. The name of the queen was Calliope. And the name of both king and queen are written in the Greek legend all around, and also in the Kharoshthi legend on the reverse. In Greek, it reads Basilios, Soteros, Hermios, Kai Kallios. So Kallios or Calliope was the name of the queen. And one may say that, what was the need for depicting the queen when the portrait of the king is already there? So one suggestion which has been put forward by the historians of this subject is that maybe the king Hermios was himself not of a royal descent, and while the Calliope, the queen, was. So that's why, just as a sign of legitimacy, he showed the queen along with his own portraiture. So what is the fact, we really do not know for sure. But very interestingly, I go back I did not discuss the reverse, which is a galloping horse. And here you see a male figure riding a horse. But on the other coin, the horse rider is definitely a female. You can see from the depiction here in the close-up that the horse rider is a female, and here the portrait of the king is gone. On the reverse, you see Zeus sitting on a throne. So we have coins issued solely by the king, jointly with a queen, and the third type with the queen alone, riding a horse in a very gallant way. So here, this is the male figure, and this is the female figure. You can compare the two. I'm coming to the end of this talk, and this is the last coin which I would like to show you. Here you see that Strato II has been depicted as the legend has become very crude, the portraiture has become very crude, and these are the two coins. One shows a bit younger ruler, and on the other it's a aged ruler. The reverse shows the Athena, goddess Athena. It has got the name of two king, both names as Strato. Now, we do not know which is Strato II, or sometimes the other name is depicted as Strato III. But the Greek, the Kharoshthi legend has been read with certainty, and which says Maharajasa Tatrasa Satrasa, that is Strato, Putrasa cha, Priyapita Stratasa. That is, the father and his son, Strato, the name is given here. So very important again, maybe the first coin is of the son, and the second coin is that of the father, and on the both the legend remains the same. So I would like to come back on the screen now, and to come to the end of this talk, this legacy that we have seen, that which traveled from Greece onto Bactria, and then beyond Hindu Kush into the Indo-Greek kingdom, was copied and followed by a number of dynasties like Indo-Scythians, the Indo-Parthians, the Indo-Sasanians, and of course Kushana. We get many portraits, including Huvishka riding an elephant, and all sorts of portraits we get. Satavahanas, the Western Kshatrapas, Guptas, again we get. So it continues. The tradition continues with the Hunas, with mockeries of Kannauj, and very recently, after independence, we do not have kings and queens, but we have our national leaders. So this is a coin, a commemorative coin, which was issued in 1969 on 100th birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. Incidentally, this was not the first commemorative coin of Free India. The first commemorative coin was issued in 1964 with Nehru, 1 rupee and 50 paisa. And recently, a few days ago, our Prime Minister has issued another coin with a portrait, this time of Rajmata Vijayaraje Scindia. So thank you very much for your patience hearing. And if there are any questions or comments, I would like to take them on.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for the very interesting and very informative presentation, and for also taking us through all the galleries of different points discovered from different periods. Thank you so much, sir, for this very interesting lecture. The lecture also highlighted on some very important aspects of this Hellenistic period and on the influence of the Indo-Greek cultural exchanges in terms of numismatics. Among our curious audience, we have, sir, one query from Dr. Anantastos Dwivedi. He is asking, is there any depiction of king and queen with musical instrument on this dynastic coin?
No. There's only two instances where a queen is depicted, and none of the king, because they always prided themselves to show like a warrior. So we see a lot of arms and gadgets associated with the warfare depicted on the helmet and the spear, the thunderbolt, bow and arrow, sword, and so on and so forth. Or they are depicted simply with a diadem, which is a sign of royalty, but none with any musical instrument. All that was, I would suggest to Dr. Dwivedi, was left to the god, which were depicted on the other side. So Zeus had, n number of progeny, and various other goddesses are depicted. Athena, for example, or goddess Nike, I showed you on the coin of Alexander, who is the in the Roman parlance, she is the counterpart of goddess Victoria. So, but short answer is no.
Thank you, sir. We have no other question or query from audience. However, we have a lot of feedbacks and comments, which is also frequently appearing on the screen as well. So, sir, at the end of this session, let me thank everyone present here in this session. Let me extend my vote of thanks to everyone who joined us in this lecture, in this session. I, on behalf of Heritage Society and its entire team, I would like to first thank Dr. Garg for joining us in this program and for taking out time and delivering us a very informative and lecture and a very interesting presentation on very important aspects of the world history. Thank you so much, sir. I also would like to thank all our audience who joined us in the program and was live with us over different social media pages, Facebook and YouTube pages of Heritage Society. And we're also frequently putting their comments and suggestions on their post. I also thank all the officers, staff, A special thanks to Dr. Nanda Stuvedi and Srimati Manita Pandey Madam for organizing this lecture. Thanks also to Virasat Mitra and followers of Heritage Society for continuously supporting us in all our endeavors. Thanks to everyone. Have a great time, everyone. Have a great festive season. Thank you. We will have more lectures in futures, so stay tuned with us. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Namaskar.